Hi guys, you're all welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be taking you through the process of making this stylish shift dress. It's also a Bubu gown, a short one with a drawstring waistline and a scrub neckline. To begin, I have these 2 yards of African print and also half yard of doll face satin. I'll be folding the front and the back together, so I'll go ahead and fold my fabric into 2 like this, and I'll fold it over again just like this, making it a fold of 4. I'll go on and mark out my start line. I'm coming down by ½ an inch from the top there. I'll rule a line connecting the points. I'll begin on my measurement from this start line, which is also the shoulder line. I'll place my tape on the start line and mark my bust point, which is 12 inches. I'll rule a straight line connecting these points. And then I'll mark my hip measurement. I'm working with hip measurement of 26 inches. I'll also rule a straight line across. The full length of this gown is going to be 40 inches, but I'll be attaching a band at the hemline. So I'm going to be removing 3 inches. I'll be attaching a 3 inches band at the hemline. So I'm going to be removing 3 inches from the 40 inches. So at the end, I'm marking out 37 inches, but I'll add ½ inch for sewing allowance, making it 37.5 inches. I'll go on and roll a line across and then cut it out. Next is to go on and mark my shoulder measurement. I'm working with shoulder measurement of 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. And from that 8 inches point, I'll take my sleeve length. I want the length of my sleeve to be 12 inches, but I'll be attaching a band of 2 inches. So I'm marking out 10 inches at that point. I'll move over to my hip point and mark out my hip measurement of 41 inches divided by 4, which will give me 10.25. I'll also go ahead and add extra 5 inches. I'm going to use 1 or ½ inch for sewing allowance, while 4 inches will be used for ease. I'll also be placing my hip measurement at my bust point. So I'm using my biggest body measurement for this gown. Alright, so if your biggest body measurement is your bust, go on and use your bust. Alright, this is a Bubu gown, you need it to be free. For my sleeve opening, I'll just make use of the bust point, which is 12 inches. Though after I come down at the shoulder point by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, I'll be left with 11 inches as my sleeve opening. So I'll just maintain these 12 inches like this. And then I'm going to connect the rest part of the body. I'll be creating a curve at that point, connecting it to the bust point area, down to the hip point, and then to the hem of my dress. I'll be replacing the hip measurement at the hem as well. I'll mark it at that point and connect the line. I'll move over to my shoulder to take my neck width and neck depth. For now, I'll be taking neck depth for the back only. So the neck width I'm working with is 3.5 inches and the neck depth for the back is 1.5 inches. I'm going to take the neck depth for the front later. Alright, so I'll come over to my sleeve point and I'll come down by 1 inch. Alright, this will serve as our shoulder slope. I'll connect it to my neck width. So at the end, I have 11 inches for my sleeve opening. I'll add ½ inch for my shoulder seam, the sewing allowance for the shoulder. So I've gone ahead to add that. I'll go on and cut it out. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not. Comment, share, and also like our videos so it can reach a wider audience. After cutting out, I'm going to remove one piece, alright, and then leave the other one to work with. So here the neck width is still the same thing, 3.5. That I'll be removing 1 inch later. The neck depth we'll be working with is going to be 10 inches. Alright, you can use 9, you can use 8, alright, depend on how deep you want it to be. So I'm using a neck depth of 10 inches. At that 10 inches point, I'll come in by half an inch. So I'm going to rule my line from the neck width to the 10 inches point and the half inch right there. So I'm going to, you can see that I came in by half inch. I'll go on and cut it out this way. After cutting, this is what I have. So this is our front neckline. I'm going to be removing 1 inch from the neck width. And that's because, remember, I'm going to be adding a band. I'll be adding a band of about 1 inch. So in order for the front and the back neckline to blend together, I need to remove 1 inch because we are going to replace that 1 inch with the band. So this is the band. Let me show you the measurements I used for it. I cut out these 2 pieces of fabric, and the width is about 3 inches and the length is 14 inches. Alright, 14 inches in length and the width is 3 inches. So I'm going to be attaching and interfacing. I'm using paper stay. I'll iron this to it. Alright, I'm ironing this interfacing on the wrong face of this fabric. I'll go on and cut it out. After cutting out, I'm going to fold it into 2. So making it 1.5 inches in width. I'm going to be using half inch for my sewing allowance and I'll have 1 inch left. So I'll go over to my sewing machine. This is how I'm going to be sewing it. Alright, I'm going to be attaching it like this on the neckline. I'm pinning it down so you see how I'm going about this. I'll go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew using half an inch. I'm going to come down from that half inch curve. I'm going to come down by half inch. Alright, that is where I'm going to be back stitching. That's where I'm going to stop. So you can see I'm sewing it down right now. Another half inch point where I marked, I made my back stitch there. I'll do same thing for the other side. Don't forget to come down by half inch at the curve there, or at the shape there, that's half inch shape there. So you can see what I have. You see where I stopped? Okay, I came down by half inch from this point, and that is where I stopped my sewing. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to notch it. I'm going to cut through it like this so we can turn our band to the other face with ease. You can see how I'm going about this. Please watch it carefully because this point is going to determine how your scrub V neckline will turn out. So after cutting through like this, I'm going to turn it like this, taking the excess inward to the wrong face. Make sure you arrange it, make sure everything relaxes and aligns well. You can see what we have. I'll turn it to the other face, to the wrong side, and I'll trim off the excess. I'll trim part of the excess, not everything. After trimming, I'm going to be stitching them together. Make sure while you're stitching, you don't stitch on the main fabric. You're going to be stitching the 2 band and also that half inch that we cut through. You're going to be stitching them together like this. make sure you don't stitch on the actual fabric. Your stitch is not supposed to show in front. This is what we have after I'm done stitching at that point. These are scrub V neckline. I'm going to cut off the excess at the shoulder. Now I'm going to be cutting facing for the back. Alright, to do that, just take a piece of fabric, fold it into two, make sure it's wide enough to accommodate the neckline, and then you have like excess. Alright, like this. After folding it into two, I'm going to place it. You can see what we have. I'll place it like this and put the back on it. So the width is 7 inches, 7 by 7 inches. I'm going to place it like this. Usually I like my my facing to be around 4 inches left. From that point, I like to have 4 inches down. So I'll go on and trim it out following the neckline like this. And then trim it also at the shoulder. So we have 3 inches at the upper part there, at the shoulder point. I'll go on and shape it out like this. And we have our back interfacing. I'm going to be placing it right face facing each other, and I'll go over to my sewing machine. I'll use 1/2 inch to stitch it all round. I'm done sewing it. I'll go on and notch it. Notch around so it can relax well. Then turn it to the wrong face, and I'm going to give it a good press. After ironing, this is what I have. Next, I'm going to be attaching the band at the hem. The width of this band when opened is 7 inches. The length is the length of my dress. Okay, so the width is 7 inches. 7 inches. While on fold, I have 3.5. Okay, I'll be using 1/2 inch to attach it to the dress. I cut out 2 of these, one for the front part, and the other one for the back. I'm done attaching, and this is what I have. So the next thing is to join the shoulders. I'm going to place the front and the back together, right face facing each other. Right face to right face for the front and the back. I'll align it properly at the shoulder line. And I'll take it over to my sewing machine using 1/2 inch. I'm going to sew, but I'm going to be taking the piece from the back. Remember the interfacing we cut out for the back? That is what I'll be bringing to the front. Just watch how I'm explaining this. Just pick out the interfacing from the back and wrap it to the front. Then you sew it using 1/2 inch. I'm done sewing, so I'm going to turn it now. When I turn it, this is what I have. You can see how neat it's looking at that point. You can see what we have. So next is to go on and attach my band at the sleeve. I've also cut out 2.5 inches for this band. On fold is 2.5 inches. When open is 5 inches. The length is the length for the sleeve, but I added extra. So you can see when open is 5 inches, on fold is 2.5 inches. I will be using 1/2 inch to attach it to the sleeve. At the end, I'm going to have 2 inches. I'll go over to my sewing machine and sew it. I'm done sewing. This is what I have. This is our sleeve. Alright, so next is to go ahead and sew the front and the back together. I've gone ahead to turn it to the wrong face, and I'll trim the excess I have at the sleeve. I'll be using 1/2 inch to sew it from that sleeve point all the way down to the hem. After marking, I'll use my pins to secure it and then take it over to my sewing machine to sew it all down. I'm done sewing on both sides. Alright, and this is what I have. I'm going to be cutting at that curve there. Alright, the curve at the armhole. This is going to help that point to relax well. I'll go on and turn my gown to the right face. And I'm going to be marking out the point for my drawstring where I'll be placing the casing. I'll be going up by 1 inch from my waist point. My upper waist point is 17 inches. I'll go up, making it 16 inches. So the point where I'll be placing my casing is going to be 16 inches. I'm doing this because I want to add pockets to this gown, and I want the pocket to start from my upper waist point of 17 inches. So you can place yours at your actual waist point, okay, just based on your preference. I'm going to mark the 16 inches all around to the back. Okay, I'm going to roll my line connecting this point. So for the casing, go ahead and measure what you have on this gown round, on your own gown using your measurement. Measure what you have round, and then you're going to cut out your casing. Okay, so the width of this is 2 inches, while the length is the length of my round gown. Okay, the 2 inches, I went ahead to fold in 1/2 inch at both sides. So I'm left with 1 inch. So now the length of this casing is the width of this casing is 1 inch. Then at the midpoint of my gown, I'm going to go out by 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay, I'll go out by 1/2 inch. From the midpoint to the left, I'll go out by 1/2 inch. To the right, I'll go out by 1/2 inch. So these are the points where I'm going to place the casing. I'll fold it in like that at the edge, and then I'll place it at the 1/2 inch point. I'll use my pin to hold it down. Then I'll be stitching. Go on, you can use your pin to hold it down all round. Okay, you can use your pin to hold it down all round. I'm going to be stitching at both sides. First, I will stitch at one end. I will stitch at one end like this down. After which, I'll go on and stitch again at the other end. Alright, we are going to be stitching all round. Make sure you iron your casing neatly at both sides. As you're folding it in by 1/2 inch, iron it. In case you're wondering how you're going to be sewing the casing, pull it up from the neck part. Alright, from your neckline, pull it up like this. Before sewing, make sure there is no fabric under. You're going to be arranging this while you sew. Arrange it to make sure it's not sticking to any fabric. You're going to keep pulling other fabrics from the way while you sew. This I'm going to continue sewing all round. I'm going to stop sewing at the other parts of the 1/2 inch. I'm done sewing, and this is what we have. You can see how the casing is looking. The next thing is to create the rope. I'm using this bias strip, which I'll be folding into 2. I'm done folding it into 2. I folded it into 2 and I went ahead to sew it down, so you can see how slim it's looking. I'll connect the safety pin to the rope before inserting it into the casing. So I'm going to insert it like this, and then I'll begin to pull it. I'll go through this process all around the gown. So this is how I'm going to go about it. I'm done. I pulled it out through the other part, and this is what we have. Okay, I'll remove my safety pin, tie it, and the next thing is for us to create our pocket. I'll be making use of this piece of fabric. Is folded into 2. Alright, so the opening for my pocket is going to be 7 inches. I'll add a 1 inch for sewing allowance, making it 8 inches, while the depth is around 9 inches. You can make use of 10, 12, depend on how deep you want your pocket to be. So I'm marking the 8 inches point. I'm going to insert my hand like this, and I'll try to create a shape. You can create any shape you want, okay? So there is no particular shape that your pocket must have. So just do what you're okay with. I have like a D shape here. I'll go on and cut it out. and I'll place it on another fabric again to cut out 2 more pieces. So each of this piece, 2 of it is going to be used to create 1 pocket. So I'm done cutting out another pieces, so I have like 4 in all. Okay, so I'm going to pick out 2 right face facing each other. I'll go on and mark 1/2 inch from the top. Okay, I'm going to start all my sewing from this 1/2 inch. I'll also do same thing for the other piece. From the top, I'll come down by 1/2 inch, and I'll go over to my sewing machine and sew using 1/2 inch all round. I'm done sewing, and this is what I have. Alright, so the next thing is to attach this to my dress. I'll go on and turn my dress to the wrong face. Then I'll place my tape at the shoulder. From the shoulder, I'll come down by 17 inches. At that 17 inches point is where I'll be placing my pocket. So from that 17 inches point, I'm going to mark down 7 inches. I'll go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to back stitch at that point, at the 7-inch point. I'm going to back stitch while I'll open the rest part. After doing that, after back stitching, I went ahead to open it. So I have 7 inches here. I went ahead to open it up at that point. This is one part of my pocket. I'm going to be attaching it to this opening that I have on my dress. So I'm going to be connecting it like this. I'll connect it to that 1/2 inch point. So I'll use my pins to hold it down. I'll connect them together this way. I'll do same thing for the other side. So you can see that at the end we have an opening at that point. Even when we sew, the opening is what will lead us to the pocket. I'll go over and I'm going to sew it down. On my sewing machine, I'm going to sew it down on both sides. I'll do same thing for the other part of my gown as well. I'm done sewing my pockets. I'm done attaching the pockets, and this is what we have. So you can see the pocket right there. It's a very simple process. So these are a gown. A drawstring gown is ready. A beautiful shift dress. You can see after pulling it together, this is what we have. If you're yet to subscribe, please do hit on the red button to subscribe, like and drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this gown. Alright, thank you so much guys for watching and staying tuned to this point. See you in my next video. Bye.